What are the Halloweens? What is up, alienARMy? I am Oculus, the alien next door, purveyor of esoteric lore, and on this channel we discuss everything out of this world. So today's topic, this is just going to be a random chat section. We are going to random chat session. We are going to be exploring a few different topics, but as always, because it's my video, it's all fucking connected. So, what are the Halloweens? Now, this is another metaphor. This actually was something that occurred to me a few years ago whilst I was in a psychedelic trance. So, what happened here is that this is a quick little story time. So, I was perched upon my couch several years ago and I was sipping my ginger tea and I felt a psychedelic trance coming on. So, I do have another video about psychedelic activity and how there are quite a few different ways to induce a psychedelic experience. So if you want to check that out, feel free. But for now, let's get back to the story. So I'm sitting there, I'm sipping my motherfucking ginger tea and I'm having me a good old time. Out of nowhere, well,
not out of nowhere,
all of a sudden, now this is what I'm going to explain to you. I knew that I was going to be in this psychedelic state because the second that it switched, it sort of like clicked, is like, whoop, turn on psychedelic. There we go. I was sitting on my couch, I was sipping my ginger tea, I had headphones on, I had a TV on, I had a fan blasting on me because, you know,
I like to have a million things going on at once because I have Mercury in the third house.
All of a sudden I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I feel this little experience coming on, so I'm just like, oh shit. And it was all instantaneous. This happened. So I'm sitting there, picture across from me, somewhat to the side, is a window with a window ledge on it. So this is Fungus. He's made a few cameos in some of my videos, but I had Fungus. He was perched upon my windowsill, and so I'm sitting like this and he's sort of like looking at me from the opposite way. And you'll notice that Fungus, he has two eyes and that's all he has for a face basically. So I'm sitting there, I'm sipping my ginger tea and I feel this psychedelic state coming on, and I was like, whoo, okay, so now we're gonna imagine all of these things going on at once. So Fungus is perched upon my windowsill.
This is gonna sound really cray-cray.
I made eye contact with him, and at that same moment that I made eye contact with him, he smiled. He smiled exactly like the way that a jack-o'-lantern would smile. So it was a big toothy grin. The teeth were a little bit sharp, okay, I ain't gonna lie, but I was like, oh shit. So he smiled. It was really quick. He doesn't have a mouth, as you can see, but he smiled. It was a big grin. It was like the cross between Cheshire Cat and like a Halloween jack-o'-lantern smile with sharp teeth. Anyway, so he smiled. It was really fast, like super fast, but I peeped it when we made eye contact. And at the same time that he smiled like that, the voice of the universe, my higher self, the all-seeing eye, the voice that conveys messages to me that I channel, said to me, you're not gonna hallucinate, you're only gonna see what's already there. So I was like, oh shit, I'ma buckle up now. So I buckled up, you know, in my mind, and I was like, okay, I'm ready for this, right? So you might be thinking, what the fuck does this have to do with the Halloweens and consciousness and all of that? But consciousness, psychedelic, what does that mean? Different areas of the mind that normally would not talk to each other, now they start conversing. That's basically all it means. It means like a clear mind. If you want to look up like the archaic definitions, like psyche and delos, I believe, comes from ancient Greek or something, but there you go, right? So now I'm in this state where areas of my brain that would not normally communicate with each other, now they're just chatting up a storm. They all got third house Mercury now. That's what's going on. So I'm being conveyed a whole lot of different messages that I'm writing down. I'm like, okay, this is some good shit, universe, keep it coming. And I'm like sitting on my fucking couch, you know, mind you, I'm jamming to music, I'm channeling shit. And keep in mind, Fungus, jack-o'-lantern smile. So I'm sitting there and like the light, I had this lamp on and it was just a regular lamp, how I have my lights sitting here now, you know, there's no flashing lights or anything like that. We're not in the club right now, but the lantern.
I am the lantern. You are the lantern.
the lamp that he was kind of next to Fungus, Mr. Motherfucking Lamp, like they were kind of next to each other. The lamp was standing next to the windowsill. So the lamp that I'm just writing shit down, and the lamp started flashing like we were at the fucking discotheque, okay? That's what was going on, and it was just like these flashing lights, and I was like, oh shit, and I felt like I was at the fucking disco.
Okay.
So they were saying the Halloweens, and I'm like, why the fuck are you telling me the Halloweens? Like they, meaning, the voice, or like the messages that were being conveyed to me. I'm like, what the fuck? And like, I always remember that, and this might sound like a really crazy experience, but I was having a jolly good time. So, I mean, you're thinking like things that don't have mouths or smiling like a Halloween fucking jack-o'-lantern. I'm getting Halloween fucking, like, probably like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But it was a good time, okay? So I'm getting the message being conveyed as I'm channeling all this info, and it's like the Halloweens. And I'm like, okay. So I only really realized what exactly the Halloweens meant maybe like a few months ago. And mind you, this story that I'm telling you about, this is a few years ago, okay? This was no anytime recent. But I always, I was like, oh, that was weird. Like, why are they calling it the Halloweens when the lights were flashing, but the light wasn't really fucking flashing, but it was like I was at the fucking disco and all of that going on. And I was like, aha, light bulb moment. Because the veil on the day of Halloween is the thinnest. So what happened, whilst I was in my psychedelic trance, the veil in betwixt realms, in betwixt worlds, in betwixt the 3D plane and the 5D plane is very, very thin, because now you have more interconnectedness going on inside your mind, going on inside your psyche, and you are able to process things much more rapidly because you are basically looking into every room of the house of the mind at once. So when this happens, the veil is thin because now you have a higher elevated level of consciousness, because the way that the neurons, or as Joe Dispenza would say, firing together. So that's why it is purported that once a mind has expanded, from a psychedelic experience, no matter how it was induced or came upon the individual, that the mind never shrinks back to the way that it was before. So it stays in an elevated state, or at least more elevated than before that psychedelic experience happened. So they're saying the Halloweens, I really couldn't put my finger on it until maybe a few months ago, don't remember when, but it occurred to me, and I was like, I'm gonna talk about this, because why the fuck not? So what happens is that we want to take this now into the context of Halloween itself, okay? So why is Halloween why is that shit got this reputation of like crypt keeper and ghouls and ghosts and spider webs and all like it has a pretty interesting reputation, right? But motherfuckers like it, okay? Like you got trick-or-treating going on, you got I'm gonna knock on a motherfucking door and he gonna give me some candy. Like what? Like that's a little fucking nuts, right? You don't know this motherfucker, but anyway. So you're dressing up in costumes, you putting a mask on, like you all about it, okay? So why is this holiday, why does it draw so many motherfuckers to it? Because if we want to take a look at the fucking pagan, and we're gonna get a little bit into religion, okay? So I don't know, you might want to click off if you're easily triggered. I don't believe in a religion. If you do that you continue to do you. I ain't telling a motherfucker what to do. You do what resonates with you, but I'm letting you know what you're about to step into. So we want to take it into Halloween. Now, I do not know how to pronounce this, okay? I just say Samhain, which I've heard that it's not really pronounced that way, but Samhain, Samhain, okay? So this happens on like the evening of October 31st, and it extends into November 1st. So the veil is very, very thin, and you can even look this up with like ancient pagan text, okay? It's just that's when the veil is the thinnest. So what's happening is that there are a lot of things that might have previously been unseen that are now being seen on Halloween.
Oh, snap!
So we have this going on Halloween, and the veil is the thinnest then. This is why it was conveyed to me, the Halloweens, because I was picking up on things that normally under a normal circumstance would have been hidden from the different aspects of my mind, simply because under a normal circumstance, my mind is not correlating this links up to this and that links up to that, because those because neurons are not communicating with each other typically. But in that heightened state, the Halloweens, I'm just gonna go.
I'm so crazy.
In the Halloween state, in the Halloween state, when it's heightened, the veil is essentially thinner, because that is really what that charged up name, that charged up title is conveying. So we want to look at the ancient pagan tradition of Samhain.
Again, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's okay though. I mean, do I know how to pronounce anything? No, I just say shit my own way.
So we have the veil is thin. You got motherfuckers dressing up. And why are motherfuckers dressing up? Could it be in ancient pagan rituals motherfuckers dressed up too? They wore costumes and masks, and then they did all of that stuff. There's a whole fucking history behind it. So on the topic of Halloween, now the veil is the thinnest, and it essentially is drawing motherfuckers to it, because it's sort of like, to my understanding, it's like preparing for the darkness or things like that. So it's sort of like you're going into that energy where, now we want to take it into that metaphor, the energy of the Halloweens is like you're going into the darkness, but you're having a good time going into the darkness, okay? Because you dressed up, motherfuckers giving you candy, and you know, it's all good. You got smiling fucking pumpkins and shit, okay? Who doesn't want a smiling fucking pumpkin? So that is what's drawing people there, because this was a very, very celebrated holiday in pagan tradition. So the word Halloween actually comes from All Hallows Eve. So we see where they kind of, you know, they just gave it a title, Halloween, All Hallows Eve. Now, what does the word hallowed mean? So if you are familiar with any type of, I don't know if it's in all Christianity, I know in Roman Catholic, it is the Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, right? Hallowed. What does this mean? Hallowed, by definition, if you want to look it up yourself, essentially means made holy, consecrated, and greatly revered and or honored. So we already have this greatly revered, honored evening, All Hallows Eve, which is why we have it branching off the holiday Halloween, October 31st into November 1st, because that's when they were doing these rituals and charging shit up and dressing up and doing all of that. They were doing all of that from the eve, the consecrated evening, into the next day. So why do we have the word hallowed in the Our Father prayer? So this might just be for me, and I am not hating on a religion. As I said, if you resonate with a religion, then you do you, but I was attempted to be indoctrinated into Roman Catholicism. I have no religion. I can see things that I agree with in pretty much all religions. I can see things that I disagree with in pretty much all religions, right? But what is a religion at its core? It's a set belief system. So religion, the one that I was attempted to be indoctrinated in, and listen, if I had been attempted to be indoctrinated in another religion, I would be talking about that. So it's not like I'm throwing shade on Christianity or Roman Catholic, whatever. I'm not throwing shade on that. It's just the really thing that in this vessel I can just easily compare it to. So that's how I see symbolism. But if you were attempted to be indoctrinated into another religion, you most likely are going to see symbolism with that religion just because you're most familiar with that. So I'm most familiar with Roman Catholicism because I went to Catholic school.
I was asked not to come back,
but it's another story. And this is why religion never resonated with me. Like, I was hearing all of this shit about original sin, and I'm like, motherfucker, fuck you mean original sin? I was born perfect, okay? I don't know about you. Number one, anyone that's trying to tell you that you were born flawed, run. Do not walk from a motherfucker that's telling you that, because you're fucking perfect. And you might not be perfect from a third dimensional standpoint, but just because you are an expression of universal source itself, you are perfect, okay? You are whole and complete. You don't need a motherfucker telling you that you have any type of sin that you were born with because XYZ ate a motherfucking apple in a fairy story, right? You don't need to be told that, okay? So I never resonated with that, just for a whole lot of things with that. Roman Catholicism never agreed with me. But the whole purpose of this story, how we're gonna link it all together, is that this is what was conveyed to me, I mean, years later, I guess, but you know, with the Halloweens, this is meaning that when when the veil is thin, it's a time to celebrate, because now you're in betwixt both realms. You're sort of like in that shadow aspect, and it's like that All Hallows Eve, where it's like, make this holy, consecrate this darkness. Do not be afraid of the darkness, because you see darkness and you also see at the same time that it is just the opposite end of the polarity of light. So we have this polarity, dark, light. It's the same thing, different degree. I talk about this in a lot of my videos, and I'm not going to get too much into the pagan thing. I think I said pagan tradition like 28 fucking times already. So I mean, take a shot, whatever, rewatch this video, restart it, take a shot or a puff anytime that I fucking say pagan tradition. But there you go. Okay, so I'm not too familiar with it, so I don't want to speak too much on like the legit, true, like every detail of the backstory of All Hallows Eve, Samhain, however you pronounce it. I'm not going to get into that, but what I do know is that this was a highly revered holiday, obviously, because if it came from All Hallows Eve, when the veil is the thinnest, that means that motherfuckers even back then knew what they were doing. They were like, okay, we're going to dress up, we're going to celebrate, we're going to throw us a little party, we're going to dive into the fucking darkness, and we will be happy there, because that's what they were about. So now if we want to take that hallowed be thy name, why is the religion of Roman Catholicism, and I don't know if the Our Father is like in other aspects of Christianity, I just know about this, so I don't know. I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't know. But we're saying, Our Father who art in heaven. This is why, in my view, just from what I know, just from what I've experienced, just from what I've researched, Christianity, that whole thing, all of the different sects were taken from ancient pagan traditions, okay?
So I just wanted to jump in here really quick while I'm editing, because I totally forgot to mention a key point that I meant to originally address in this video, which is another reason why I find that the Roman Catholic religion definitely has its belief system based in ancient pagan traditions, because we would always look forward to Halloween in Catholic school, not because of the magical ceremonious day and evening night that it is and was, but also because we always got the next day, November 1st, off from school, because the Catholic schools would celebrate All Saints Day. So I don't even remember what this quote-unquote holiday means, but I just wanted to throw that in there just to give another example of how Christianity has its belief system based in ancient pagan traditions.
That is why, to me, religion is a fabrication. It's just based off of things, you know, it's based off of like ancient Egyptian beliefs, and it's based off of different esoteric teachings, and all of it is just, it's marketed as a religion, as a belief system, okay? But this is just universal knowledge. This is why All Hallows Eve was going on in the ancient pagan times, and they're just bringing these same type of words forward and putting it in like a prayer, in a religion. And prayer, by the way, is whenever you are communing with source, that is prayer. That is prayer. You don't need to recite a certain amount of words. You don't need to recite a poem or nothing. When you're communicating with source, that in and of itself is a prayer. Don't let a motherfucker tell you otherwise. So this is really my whole gist of this video, is that when you are in a heightened state, when you are not afraid to explore the depths, explore the darkness, be in that state of in betwixt worlds, right? Because you're holy, you're consecrated, like you're moving around in the darkness, but you know that even in the darkness you are protected. That's why you ain't afraid to take candy from a stranger, because you trick-or-treating, okay? So you have all of this going on within you when your mind is in a heightened state. You can have this heightened state at so ever any moment you wish. And when you keep in mind that what this holiday really stems from, you will see that even the darkness is holy. And this is why on the 3D plane we have 4D, which would maybe be considered the darkness. We have 5D, which would maybe be considered the light end of the spectrum. I do have a lot of other videos on the polarities of this, but these two are woven together over the third dimensional plane. And typically when the light tries to reach a motherfucker just, they're too in their 3D, so 5D, that ethereal realm light is not going to get to them. But what many times beckons that motherfucker is the darkness, because it's a little, it's like, ooh, it's like shadowy, it's like kind of sinister, but it's kind of exhilarating, it's kind of exciting too, you know, just like that time around Halloween. That's what we are talking about today, an aspect of if you just embody a psychedelic experience and you want to connect different pathways in your brain, you are going to be able to see things all at once rather than from a perspective of a limited scope, such as only seeing the darkness, only seeing the light. It's important to keep things hallowed and not fall privy to anyone else's experiences or anyone else's teachings, anyone else's writings, because as I gave you with that example with the prayer, the hallowed, where did that come from? If someone just looked at any religion on a surface level and they see a prayer and then they want to get to the backstory of what that prayer means, where it stems from, most of the time you're going to find that it just comes from basic universal knowledge that has been around for years and years and eons really of time, because
time doesn't exist, everything is all at once, but you know, you get the idea.
And so if you want to look at things from a perspective, from a heightened state, from a psychedelic state, and motherfuckers are like, whoa, what are you talking about, the Halloweens? Then, you know, you be like, yeah, motherfucker, I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Do you though? No, you know what someone else told you. And that's what you can say if someone tries to question you as to why you don't have a particular belief system or why you view things from a different point of view, right? It's okay, all you do is like, listen, I see things from my point of view, you see things from your point of view. I don't give a fuck what your point of view is, but I'm just gonna continue to do me, and you're okay to be in the depths, you're okay to be in the shadows, because you know that the shadow is really the key to the light. Because how are you gonna get to the light? How are you going to get to that, you know, wish upon a star thing? Now
we're getting into Disney. Oh boy, another video though, not here.
So how do you get to that wish upon a star mentality, right? A star shines in the darkness, so you know you want to get there, you know you want to get your wish, but it's dark all around you. Ain't not that a reason to be afraid of a motherfucker. Like, you're just there, you're not scared.
Oh shit.
And you have everything going on. You're celebrating the consecrated evening because you know that the dawn always comes. And if someone tries to tell you like you should believe this or that, it's like that's dogma, because you have to decipher things for yourself, by yourself, from the avenue, from the perspective of the all-seeing eye. So to tie all of this back together, this is really what I'm just gonna call it the Halloween state. This is what we have going on with the Halloweens. Just remember, the veil is thin. You can have different aspects of your mind communicating at any time, and you can be shown your way through the darkness. It doesn't have to be scary.
That shit can be a lot of fun, especially if you're wearing a costume.
But you know that you keep your eye on the star, on the light through that hallowed evening. You bless the darkness, whatever the fuck it is, and then you ain't shook to traipse through a motherfucker, right? You bless it. You say All Hallows Eve, motherfucker. Ooh. I consecrate this eve, I consecrate this darkness, because I know that I am the light. I am the light I am. This might have been all over the place. A lot of my videos typically are, but you know, that's how I roll. And I am Oculus, the alien next door. We will chit chat again soon.